Have you ever met someone who talks all the time, yet no one truly listens? That was Daniel, a 36-year-old systems analyst living in Atlanta, married to Melissa, and father to a curious 8-year-old named Max. Daniel had built his identity around one thing, being the guy who always had something to say. Meetings, dinners, casual chats, he never missed a chance to speak his mind. He thought that being outspoken made him respected. He believed the more he talked, the smarter he appeared. But reality was different. In work meetings, people stopped engaging with him. At home, conversations turned into one-man monologues. He interrupted his wife's stories with better versions. He corrected Max mid-sentence. He talked over friends, family, co-workers, and deep down he never noticed how isolated he was becoming. Melissa had stopped confiding in him. His son gave one-word answers. And at work, he was overlooked for leadership. Roles not for lack of talent but presence. Because while Daniel was speaking, no one was really hearing. Why? Because his words didn't invite, they didn't breathe, they didn't land. They were noise, constant, exhausting, empty, until one moment shattered it all, a moment that broke his rhythm and opened a new door. The day Daniel chose silence was the day everything began to shift. It happened during a Monday morning strategy meeting. Daniel, as usual, jumped in early. He offered solutions before problems were fully explained. He cut off a colleague mid-presentation to suggest a better angle. After he finished, the room was quiet. Not the good kind of quiet. An uncomfortable, lingering silence. Finally, the department head looked directly at him and said, "Daniel, you talk a lot, but you don't really listen, and that's why people stop taking you seriously." The words hit like a punch. There was no sarcasm, no anger, just truth. And the worst part? No one in the room disagreed. Some even nodded slightly, avoiding his eyes. Daniel sat there stunned, unable to form a comeback. For the first time, his words had left him. He drove home early that day, thoughts spinning like a broken carousel. That night, Melissa noticed his silence and asked, "Rough day?" He shared what happened. She didn't lecture him, she just said, "Maybe it's time to try listening more than speaking." And for once, he didn't defend himself. He just sat there, thinking. Maybe all. This time he wasn't being assertive. Maybe he was just afraid of silence, afraid of being irrelevant without words. The next day, Daniel made a decision. He would stop talking just to fill space. He would speak less and start listening more. As he sat quietly the following morning, sipping coffee, he remembered something his grandfather once told him. The Chinese bamboo tree takes years to grow underground. You see nothing for the longest time, but once it breaks the surface, it shoots up feet within days. Why? Because it spent all that time growing strong roots. Daniel realized he'd spent years trying to grow visible branches, but he had no roots, no depth in his conversations, no patience in his responses. He began testing silence. At the next team meeting, he didn't rush in. He listened, took notes, let others speak first. When asked his thoughts, he shared them briefly, but with precision. That day, his manager said, "That was insightful, Daniel. Thanks for waiting and really processing." It shocked him. He hadn't tried to impress, yet he did. At home, Max came home from school excited to share about his science project. Normally, Daniel would have interrupted with his own fun fact, but this time, he just listened. Max lit up, finished his story, then added, "You really hear me now, Dad?" That small moment taught Daniel a powerful truth. Silence isn't emptiness. It's space for meaning. It's in those pauses that trust is built, and real presence begins. He had always used words to fill gaps. Now, he was learning to let meaning. Hyacinth from the quiet. Change didn't happen overnight. Daniel stumbled. He caught himself interrupting now and then, but he stayed committed to the practice of active listening. At work, colleagues began seeking his input. He was included in leadership discussions, not because he talked the most, but because his words carried weight. People listened because he listened first. He began responding instead of reacting. He learned to ask better questions. He found that thoughtful silence could be more persuasive than long speeches. At home, Melissa softened. They talked deeply again, not about tasks or to-do lists, but about dreams, worries, and laughter. She told him one night, "It feels like I have my partner back." With Max, the change was even more profound. They started building Lego cities, together, without many words. Max shared more, asked questions, sought advice, because Daniel finally gave him the space to be heard. He realized something life-changing. You don't need to dominate a room to lead it. You don't have to speak to be understood. Sometimes you just need to be present. Silence had become Daniel's strength. Not a void, but a vessel. Not weakness, but wisdom. Daniel no longer walks into a room trying to prove himself. He doesn't rush to be the first to speak. Instead, he observes. He waits. He speaks when it matters. And when he does, people lean in, because his words now carry depth, not just volume. He discovered that silence isn't awkward. It's powerful. It's what gives words their shape. Daniel isn't the loud guy anymore. He's the grounded one, the calm in the room, the person others turn to for real insight. And it all started the day he stopped fearing silence and started respecting it. What about you? Are you filling your world with noise, or are you making space for meaning? Try speaking less this week and listening more. You might just find that what changes everything isn't what you say, it's what you choose not to say. Drop a comment. When was the last time you truly listened without interrupting? Share this with someone who could use this reminder. And remember, sometimes the loudest transformations happen in silence.